Apparently, the Biden administration thinks being soft on crime is funny, and the growing list of victims who suffered for it are the butt of the joke. At least that's how it sounded when Jen Psaki laughed off the lax crime policies that have led to the victimization and even death of countless people from New York City to Los Angeles and just about every Democrat stronghold in between. Because to her, these faces are a joke. They're expendable. They're nothing but a chance to mock a news network she doesn't like, to protect a political party that doesn't care. So for the rest of you, who maybe don't think that a kid's bloody body is just a pile of chuckles, here's what soft on crime means, because it's real, and it kills. The White House dropped another Psaki bomb of stupid this week when their press secretary laughed off the soft on crime policies that have left a pile of bodies littering America's streets. All because social justice points are more important than lives, even the lives in minority communities, because, hey, all those people are good for are votes. Who really cares what happens to them afterwards, right? Unless, of course, they're a criminal killed by a cop. The rise in violent crime that has been devastating our cities and killing children is just laughs aplenty to Jen Psaki, who had this to say about the only major news network that's been giving any real airtime to this crisis.
If you look at Fox on a daily basis, I mean, do you remember the 4 boxes that we had on all the TVs, right? Which is on my TV right now. So right now, just to give you a sense, so CNN, Pentagon, as many as 8,500 U.S. troops on heightened alert. Okay, true. Same on MSNBC. CNBC is doing their own thing about the market. And then on Fox is Jeanine Pirro talking about soft on crime consequences. I mean, what does that even mean, right? So there's an alternate universe on some coverage. What's scary about it is a lot of people watch that.
Hilarious. What's soft on crime? That's not in my giant binder of bullcrap talking points. Well, Jen, soft on crime means a 16-year-old aspiring rapper named Cameron Williams who's been charged with shooting a cop and who's now out on bond despite having been caught twice now with illegally possessing a firearm. He's also been charged with assault after getting into a fight with 27-year-old NYPD officer Kasim Pennant and shooting him when the handgun in Williams' pocket went off during the scuffle. But instead of being held for being a dangerous, violent criminal walking around with illegal guns, he posted his $250,000 bond and left the juvenile detention facility around 7 p.m. on Friday. His lawyer says that while he waits for his day in court, he'll get back to his life and focus on his music. Great. Another felon, 23-year-old Jetron Rodthong, was out on bond after having been charged with resisting or obstructing officers, bail jumping, driving or operating a vehicle without the owner's consent, and drug possession when he shot and wounded a Milwaukee cop on Thursday. 26-year-old Herbert Davis was just responding to a call about a potentially sick or injured person when he found this guy slumped over the wheel of a car. The felon then tried to flee the vehicle and shot Davis in the process. Thankfully, the officer survived. Unfortunately, that's not true for 16-year-old Diamond Alvarez, a Houston teen who died after being shot 22 times in the back by her 17-year-old boyfriend while she was out walking her dog. He walked out of jail Wednesday after posting a $250,000 bond and having spent exactly 2 days in jail. A man indicted for tampering with evidence in a mass shooting in Texas last June has also been released on bond. 18-year-old Jeremiah Tabb walked out of jail last Thursday with an ankle monitor. Despite having reportedly tried to dispose of the gun the shooter used to kill 1 and wound 14 others on a shooting on 6th Street. That sounds safe. A 40-year-old Texas woman named Lavilla Spry was released on bond last week after allegedly hitting and killing Sergeant Ramon Gutierrez with her car before fleeing the scene. She has been charged with intoxication manslaughter of a peace officer, failure to stop and render aid resulting in death, and evading in a motor vehicle. But she bonded out on $275,000 on Wednesday. A shocking rise in violent crime across America's cities is leaving a string of dead cops and kids in its wake. While woke politicians and bureaucrats implement policies to downgrade certain crimes, lessen sentences, and instruct prosecutors not to seek prison time for many offenses, all to lower incarceration rates, particularly for minorities, so that Democrats can score social justice points. Soft on crime is when California passes a law in 2014 that downgrades thefts of less than $950 to misdemeanors and then rarely arrests the thieves. And now gangs of criminals smash and loot high-end stores in San Francisco and raid trains for Amazon deliveries in LA, because why not? Soft on crime is when 24-year-old Brianna Kupfer was stabbed to death for no reason at all while working at a department store in LA by Sean Laval Smith, who'd been arrested for theft but got out on a ticket in October because California politicians don't care about robbery anymore. He then went out and stabbed this poor girl to death because some people are just hateful and violent. A few weeks before, a 14-year-old girl was killed by a stray bullet from a police officer who was trying to stop a guy who had just assaulted a 70-year-old woman with a bike lock. Remember Darrell Brooks, who killed 6 people and injured dozens more after mowing down a Christmas parade in Waukesha, Wisconsin in November? He'd been out of jail for 5 whole days on a $1,000 cash bail after reportedly running over a woman with an SUV. That same SUV he then used to plow through a parade and kill half a dozen people, including 8-year-old Jackson Sparks, and injured 60 more, including 18 kids.
And then on Fox is Janine Pirro talking about soft on crime consequences. I mean, what does that even mean?
But ha-ha, Jen. Ha-ha, soft on crime, so funny. Except that these terrible left-wing policies y'all like to brush off and laugh about like they're just headlines on Fox News and you think they're a bunch of fools. These stories are real. These victims are real. These policies hurt people. They kill people. They devastate families and wreck communities and let heinous, violent criminals walk. These are people. These are lives lost. These are wives left to raise their children alone and mothers left to bury their daughters. And then y'all turn around and call the ones trying to call out and fix these atrocities a bunch of racists because you're more concerned about your next election than about the lives of the people you supposedly swore to protect. This isn't funny. And that's your Reality Check, America. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube and Rumble pages, like us on Facebook and Twitter, and stay sane out there.